Hello and welcome to another week of The Parenting Business, the podcast for business owners and parents who maybe struggle at life or struggle with certain things challenging their life, and generally just to spread a bit of support. Don't forget, before we get into the episode, you can follow us on Spotify or wherever you listen. We're across all the platforms: Apple, YouTube, Overcast, and Amazon Music, pretty much everyone. So do please make sure you follow us. Do also feel free to get in touch with your stories or top tips about how you balance your parenting business. You can either leave us a comment on whatever platform you're listening on, or drop us an email at podcast@parentingbusiness.com. Also, if you do like what you hear, and we've got a great episode coming up, please share the podcast with other parents and business owners, and make sure you leave us a 5-star review, because doing all of that just helps us spread the support. And with that, let's get on with this week's show. Hello, Ben.
Greetings.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. Are you impressed? I didn't say good evening. He's been moaning at me, listeners. He's been moaning because saying good evening. And it is evening when we record.
It is evening when we record, but it could be, first thing in the morning when people listen. They could be listening on their way to work, or
who gives a shit about that? I mean, we've got an episode called "Fuck the Listeners."
Well, that's true. That's true.
Anyway.
We don't. Yes. Yeah. Let's move on.
Whatever time of day you're listening. Hello.
How has your week been?
Reasonable.
That's good.
Yeah, it's fine.
We'll take reasonable.
We'll take reasonable. Factory output is my high this week. It is impressive.
Brilliant.
I walked in today, and I've not been impressed for quite a while. It helps that we are snowed under busy. It helps that the products we're doing are not one-offs, there's batches, but even so, that's pretty good. Regular listeners will know we had a bit of a cash problem from February, March, when orders were shite. So this catches us up quite nicely. So happy about that. I think that's got to be my high. Well done, team.
Yeah.
Told a manager that we'll come up with a little treat for everybody if this continues. Fair's fair, isn't it? When they do well, they want to have a little pat on the head.
Absolutely, and I will say, I was in your place today, and
You were.
they've done a sterling job. It's looking really impressive.
Yeah.
They all seem to have really pitched in, and are pushing stuff through efficiently.
Hard work's important, but if the factory flow isn't all on song, it can still be a massive mess and a big fuck up here and a cock up there and all at each other. It's just flowing nicely, and that's credit to the lady who runs it.
You have got a really good
manager. Yeah, she's all right. So,
and I think that makes any business a good manager.
Yeah, makes a difference.
Is what can make or break a business.
Equally, I've got 6 or 7 years of training and development. She didn't arrive a good manager. She worked it well, and I think finding somebody who is keen to be the best they can be is part of it. The rest we can train. If the mindset is there and the skills aren't, doesn't matter. Come on board. We'll teach you what you need to know.
Yeah, and I think it is, and we'll come on to it in a bit. But our guest for this episode talks a lot about mindset, so I think that's a very poignant way to put it. So that's your high.
That's my high.
What's your low?
Oral infections.
Excuse me.
We have a disease, and
you're getting infections from oral.
The whole family has come down with a bit of a pain in the back of the throat. So that's not pleasant, is it?
No, that's not good.
But it's fantastic if you're dieting, which I'm not officially dieting. I'm not fussed about the expensive jab, and I don't do a huge amount of exercise. It could revolutionize the world. You don't need expensive gyms or fat jabs or whatever. You need a disease that reduces your appetite, because you don't eat that much when it hurts.
I was going to say,
and I appreciate in advance that the direction I've taken this conversation onto is going to be rinse, repeat, a bit like your arse, which has been sore for 6 years. You're going to be asking me about my infections, but I'll take that on the chin.
I've always said the best dieting thing is to go to an underdeveloped country and just get dysentery.
In fact, I'm not going to preempt anything that we talk about with our guests, but this was mentioned, wasn't it? You hatched a plan between you. It was genius. You'll have to stay tuned, listeners.
We'll
so yeah, that's my low.
It's
a bit of a sore throat. I'm on the lozenges and
okay.
paracetamol and things. It's fine. It's like anything else. It comes and goes, but it's not pleasant when it's here, is it?
If your worst low is that you've got a little bit of a sore throat,
doing all right.
I think you're doing all right.
I'd agree with you. I'd agree with you. Go on then, over to you.
Go on then. So I'm going to start with my low
Yeah.
and finish on my high. So my low is customers not paying their fucking bills on time.
Yeah, I get quite a bit of
because it does. You've had cash flow issues.
I'm in a pinch literally now because
if
you think, and I'm not taking
kind
over,
of the same.
I'm not trying to take over your moan, but when orders are down and you don't get much out the door, people pay their bills 30 days time, and then all of a sudden you get a shitload of orders. So you need to buy the material now, pay the staff and you don't get paid for another month. Yeah, that's where we are.
Yes, it is creating a slight cash flow issue.
Yeah.
Orders for us are a little bit down on where I'd like them to be because we're in that situation where, everybody's saying, can I have a quote for this? Can I have a quote for that? Oh, yes, we might place the order, or we will place an order, but we're not placing it quite yet. I did one the other day. I did a quote, and this is for, I'll say, because I don't know who the specific customer is. It's coming through a design company. Okay. It is for
It'll be fucking boring radio if you don't say, isn't it?
It's a customer who is having a climbing wall built in their basement.
Nice.
And I don't mean a small
Big
climbing
basement.
wall. This climbing wall is it's a boulder wall, so it's only a couple of meters high in the basement. But it's 12 meters long. So it's a crash mat. But what we've been told is this is part of a redevelopment on a London property. So they've obviously got a few quid in the bank. And we've been told, yes, we need you to do a quote. They're going to go for it, but it might be a year before they need it because of how long the development will take on redeveloping this entire house for them. And yours is one of the last things that are going in after the climbing wall's been built. No doubt after the cinema room's gone in and everything else, your crash mat will be last. So it's kind of like, it's really difficult. As you know, the markets are quite volatile at the moment in terms of cost of materials and things. So I'm having to put caveats on saying, okay, but if you come to me in, even 3 or 4 months' time, I might give you a different price. Your price might have gone up.
You've got to be a fortnight, haven't you? A month at most.
Well, yeah. So that's been challenging because a lot of people are wanting quotes but not pushing the button on orders. And then those that are pushing the button on orders are just being so slow to pay. And it's even a £300 here and a £200 there. It all adds up and it makes a difference.
Of course it does.
So that's been a bit of a low for me, just juggling kind of how that cash flow is going to work. My high came this morning.
Oh, morning glory.
So I
don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed.
I sincerely hope not, because I was with my daughter this weekend.
Into my shell.
No, absolutely not. It was, it's great. I love taking my daughter to school on a Monday morning so that she can talk to the teachers and things about the weekend that she's had and the stuff that we've done. We did some great stuff, play dates and things at the weekend. But I dropped her off at school. She went in. I was just having a quick chat with her teacher about a few things before I left, just outside in the playground. And then the classroom assistant, learning assistant, whatever it is, kind of came to the door and said, "Oh," as I was walking off, "Oh, hold on, someone's got something for you." And I thought she was just going to bring me a piece of clothing or something that she'd left at school and forgotten to give me. And she came running out with a handmade card Now, this obviously hadn't just been made.
Yeah.
So it's been made at some point before, but it was a handmade card by her that just on the front of it said Daddy's card, and inside just said, I love you, Dad.
Sweet, isn't it?
And I won't see her now for a few days, and that always kind of gets to me a little bit.
Yeah.
I struggle with that at times, with dropping her off on a Monday morning at school when she's been with me for the weekend, because it is that almost slight emptiness. But when she came out, she handed me that card with a big smile, and I opened it, and it just said inside, I love you, Dad. That almost had me in tears there and then, and just made my week, made my day, made my week. Just, yeah. So that was absolutely my high, without a doubt, just to receive those, pieces of paper, and with those words on. So there's my proper high, and that kind of made up for the lows.
Yeah, you had a few play dates, you said.
Yeah, we had a fantastic play date. I've mentioned before on the podcast that play dates don't seem to be a thing so much. I mean, just going round to other kids' houses, like no doubt we probably both used to do when we were younger. But we went to a play date with one of our classmates, and just to see her have so much fun.
Yeah.
Now, on this play date, they were playing with water and messing around, but then they took the paints out into the front of the street. Now, this is a little cul-de-sac that this family live in. And they took kids' paints, poster paints, as we used to call them, into the street, and they were just painting.
On the tarmac.
Painting on the floor. Well, it wasn't, so it's a little cul-de-sac, and it's one of these new build things, so it's not exactly tarmac. It's kind of paving stones, and it was mainly their own kind of footpath up to the house, and their parking spaces out the front. But this, doing a little bit of painting directly onto the floor turned into hand painting, handprints, then turned into footprints, and then just turned into a whole mass of paint all over the floor, to the point that, you see those kind of comedy things where people are slipping over constantly on some liquid in some supermarket or something, and you get that comical falling over, almost like they're on an ice rink. It was like that with paint. And she was all of them were absolutely covered in paint, to the point that she went with her friend and her friend's mum, and they had to go upstairs and have a bath before she came home.
Memories.
Fortunately, we'd got spare clothes, and it was really lovely to see, just to let her play and socialise. No adult intervention. It was almost like kids run the house. Just let them get on with it. And they had such fun. They had such a great time, and that was so nice to see. Because, my daughter's she's incredible academically. Her latest assessment of whatever it was, out of 60 questions, she got 60 right. So she's doing fantastically academically, but socially, we need a little bit of work on that. So to be able to support that was amazing, and she was super happy. And we ended up this play date that was, I'm thinking we'll be there for maybe an hour or two.
Yeah, go on.
We were there for about 5 hours.
Yeah. Good, effortless.
It was,
for it to be lasting that long.
And
also the relationship between you and the other child's parent.
Yeah, both parents, and
if
lovely.
They didn't like you wouldn't be there 4 hours, would you?
No, lovely couple. And it was, what was interesting is the other child's dad I'd not really met him before. We were just chatting, and I actually got a message afterwards to say he really enjoyed that because he doesn't get to talk to many of the other dads.
Yeah. Well, it's good. Neither do you. It's
no
nice connection made there, maybe.
Yeah, and it's really nice, and we'll no doubt meet up again, and we've already said there'll be another play date at our house.
Yeah.
And we'll do some other stuff. Our house is a little bit different. It's not quite as crazy, but actually it's inspired me to do more messy creativity. And I don't just mean a little bit of mess. This paint was everywhere. It was a case of, this is going to have to be properly jet washed down.
Yeah, well, we've got rain all week here, haven't we? So
this wasn't coming off with just rain.
Okay.
There was litres of paint. This wasn't a little bit of paint. You couldn't see the front for the amount of paint, but it was fantastic to see. Absolutely, it's inspired me to go, you know what? I don't care about the mess.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what's it matter?
Yeah. Hose pipe. It's almost that old school thing of you came home messy and you got hosed off in the garden.
Yeah.
Actually, it doesn't happen so much. And children nowadays are always, I've had this conversation with my sister, always want to be so clean. They get the slightest bit of sticky stuff on their hands.
Yeah.
Oh, can I have a wet wipe? I need to wipe my hands. Why? We never used to do that. You'd add mud to that sticky stuff and then eat the sandwich. Or a chocolate bar. So, it's nice to allow kids to get messy.
Yeah, definitely. Good for you.
Yeah. So, I think we need to maybe move on to our interview with our guest.
Well, before you do,
I'm gonna jump in.
No, you want me to tickle your follicles.
That's only on a weekend.
I've got a question.
Go
on. So my girls are getting...
Hold on.
Yeah.
Is this one?
You know it is.
Question. Sorry, I forgot all about the big question.
You were going to skate over my high point there, weren't you?
Yeah.
So they ask, example, what letter does cat begin with? K. What letters are they? So the question this week, they've been doing that for the last few months, and we're getting there with starting to sound out words and write and that sort of thing. And the question over the weekend was, Daddy, W. Yeah. Why does W begin with a D when it's a W?
Okay.
Go on and answer that.
Do you want the really geeky answer?
No, because she's 4. W begins with Kia, begins with a D.
Okay.
But
so,
go on then, write it. No D.
I can give you the answer.
Give me the answer for my 4-year-old. Go on.
Yeah. So the answer to give her is it's actually 2 letters joined up. Yeah. And when there's 2 of something, we say it's double.
Yeah.
Now, we don't do it quite right. The Germans do it better. Because they call it, I think, W. 2 V's.
Wow, we call it Deutsch. Wunderbar.
Yeah, wunderbar. Wie komme ich am besten zum Bahnhof, bitte? That's the only thing I ever remember from doing GCSE German.
Something Where's the train station?
Where's the train station, please? Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes, we call it as a double U. Now, maybe that's because we wrote it differently and we weren't kind of V's. We were more curved with it. But yes, the Germans call it W.
So write it with a D.
W.
Because it starts with a D.
Yeah, but it's because there's 2 U's. So it's not a double. It's not a W. It's 2 U's. So it's double U's. There you go. Make that 4-year-old friendly.
Yeah.
It's because there's 2.
No, I know. I'm aware. But it's just looked at me, gone out, and went back to playing with the Peppa Pig toys.
That's why it's double. because it's actually an or a
It's
v. Yeah. Hey, I love all this phonics stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't know what sound a giraffe made the other week. You've just demonstrated the gorilla. Come on, get on the show.
Oh, dear.
We've got
Right,
a wonderful guest.
Yeah, let's get on with the show. We've got a fantastic guest, and I am going to point out this because, as listeners will know, we
don't need to point that
pre-record
out.
these interviews.
No, you don't need to
I'm
point
not
it
going to
out.
point out that
No, you
we've
don't need to
got
point
a
that out,
guest.
no.
I'm going to point out the
You ain't got
fact
to point
that
that out.
I left you.
No.
I left you to begin
Yep.
this interview with
And
this
did
guest.
it wonderfully well. That's
And you
all
did
there
it
is to
so
it.
well that you
Listen.
forgot to actually talk about the fact that of what the guest does for a living. Now,
Don't
this
matter, it's
guest
obvious.
that we've got.
Get into it, and it's obvious, isn't it? You don't need
to. Mel Statner is a life coach. Really, really fantastic.
No, she's not. She's a midlife
fantastic
coach.
Interview with her. Midlife coach.
You got that wrong,
sorry.
didn't you, dingus? After moaning about me.
Word.
Fucking hell, talk about incompetence.
Well, at least I made an attempt. You completely forgot about it. So let's get on and let's have a chat with Mel.
And I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
Absolutely.
It is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you, listeners, tonight's guest, Mel Statner. Now, we were in a room together, Mel. I was listening to a little talk of yours, and there was 2 or 3 things that really caught my eye, which is where we got the idea of bringing you on and doing this from. So, firstly, we want to get into the meat and bones about you personally and your little journey. But just before we do, are you looking up or down today?
I'm definitely doing a bit of both.
Bit of both. So we've described things before. So this podcast is mainly about, we started it because mental health support for business owners is relatively poor. And although we're not trying to tackle the whole subject, let's just waffle on a bit and have a bit of a fun and joke with it and see where it lands. But when I've had low moments, and there's been a few, I kind of pick myself up. I view it as a spiral. So you need a bit of momentum, a bit of confidence, a few small, tiny little wins, and you can start spiraling up again. And you worded it so much better. Are you looking up or looking down? Where did you come across the phrase?
Honestly, I can't claim that many things are mine, but that is actually mine.
Is it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know, it's probably a bit too soon to jump in, but I spent a long time being really stuck, and I tried a lot of different things to get out of being stuck and miserable. I ended up finding a sort of coaching system that really, really worked, that was genuinely life-changing. And one of the things that I learned that I didn't know before, genuinely didn't know before, was that in any one moment, you can either be in only 2 states. You can be in a good state or a bad state. And you're always in one state or the other, and you can't be in both states at once. And the problem when you're not feeling great is that you have the tendency to believe your thoughts. And actually, you don't need to believe your thoughts. You don't believe everything you think. So when you're feeling bad, you tend to think things that go along with feeling bad, and then that's where you end up going down. So spiraling down.
Spiraling negativity.
Actually, it's perfectly possible if you can catch your thoughts, or when you can catch your thoughts, literally to stop. And then, think, which way am I heading? Am I heading up or am I heading down? And that in itself is such a powerful thing, because it stops the spiral.
So part of your day job, a part of it is trying to catch people in that negativity, pause, stop, and start going up again.
Well, teaching yourself first and foremost, and then teaching somebody else, because in any one, all you've got is now. But now you spend a lot of the time thinking about yesterday or the past, or thinking about the future. So a lot of all we've really got is time and energy. That's all we've got. So if you spend your time and energy in this moment now going downwards, then that's the direction you're heading, isn't it? And if you can notice that and go, hang on a minute, or stop, all you can do is stop and then go, right, which way am I heading, up or down? Which way am I looking, up or down?
Because when you're connected to good feelings or powerful feelings, that's literally where your power is. And if you could spend more of your life, literally more hours of it, feeling good, then you've access to everything that you want. So when you're feeling good, you're connected. You're connected to your creativity, your ideas, your energy, your intelligence. Everything you want to build comes from being in a powerful state. So the flip side of it is that we literally waste hours or days or longer being disconnected, and you can't build from there.
Because it is sometimes impressive how much you can achieve as an individual when things are going great for you. You have those days where you absolutely smash it out of the park. What I'd like to just ask you, Mel, you've mentioned you were stuck, and that's how you came to learn this and get into it, and etc. Could we delve into that? What were you struggling with? Where were you stuck? Business, family, relationships, all the above.
Yep, absolutely. Without wanting to turn the entire thing down. Yeah, so I would say I'm fairly well, I am ambitious, hardworking. A decade ago I would have said, my work ethic is amazing. Um, I've done things in my life which I've picked the hardest thing and done it, and then I've picked the hardest thing and done it, and then I've picked the hardest thing and done it. So I've had a for me, what I thought was the best of, I've tried something ambitious and I've achieved it. And that's how I've lived my life. And it's always looking forward, okay, what's the next thing that I want? And then going for it and working towards it. And then eventually, what happened was everything went to shit. So my career, my personal life, and my home life, everything just fell apart. And all of the strategies that I'd used in my previous 35 years of living didn't work anymore. And excuse the language, I was fucked, because what do you do? I'd split up from my wife. I'd lost my home. My career had changed completely to something that was fine, but I didn't want. And I was miserable, and I didn't know how to stop being miserable. So I literally tried everything all of the time, and nothing worked. And I was stuck in that sort of trying but miserable stage for at least 3 years. It was a really, really long time. And then eventually the thing that I found was David Bayer's, there's a guy called David Bayer in America, and he wrote a book called A Changed Mind. And I read that book, and it was just a part of the things that I was reading and searching. And in that book, there's a few really, really powerful things. And one of them is the 2 states of being. So you're either in a powerful state or you're in a primal state, good or bad. And you can't be in both states at once, and you're never in both states at once. You can't be in, right, so we're gonna let me rephrase. So you can't be in both states at once, but you're always in one of them. So you're either feeling some version of good or you're feeling some version of bad. That, along with a few simple but really, really practical tools, literally changed my life, on the basis that it gave me the capacity to move from being stuck to being able to start to make some transition. And then a few months later, I did ayahuasca, which I'm absolutely not endorsing or recommending. It's very messy. And then a few months after that, I went to America, and I basically studied under David Bayer, and I learned his stuff, and I did his training course, and months, and then I became one of his sort of official facilitators. And that is why eventually I've been able to just give myself permission to go, actually, do you know what? I'm just going to spend the rest of my life doing this, because it's been so powerful to me. And also I know that I was stuck, and Jesus, I wish I could go back to my 3 years that I was stuck, with the knowledge that I've got now, and go, right, let's spend the next 3 months taking you from where you are to a significantly better and more powerful place, and work out all your priorities and what you really want, blah blah blah, rebuild your life. Let's go. Doesn't need to take 3 years.
No. I mean, you sit in front of 2 failures, Mel, if I can be as blunt as that.
You're alive, the pair of you, so that can't be entirely true.
In failing, we learn. And we learn to do things differently next time. We learn to do things better next time. I am, with the exception of I let a few people down, I am proud of the effort, and I'm proud of the failure. And you can see just how deep you can dig when things are all going horribly wrong. When other people's lives, and I'm all, what's the right words here? I'm not the best with my words, regular viewers will know. And I'm not calling anybody else, but people who've had, shall we say, less stressful, easier lives, sometimes struggle for resilience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So having failed like me and Stuart have, we know what it takes to get yourself out of it. We wouldn't know that if we wouldn't have hit rock bottom. So, yes, it took 3 years for you.
It is,
Presumably, you don't look back or do you look back with regrets?
I absolutely wish I hadn't
Yeah.
suffered. But the thing is, I have to like I don't want to start a fight already. But there's no there's no such
You
thing as
you
failure.
used to do martial arts, didn't you, Mel? I'm very wary of not starting a fight with you.
We're not in the same room, but however, but there is no failure because on the one to say something really, really glib, like if you look at the top football scorers in the football leagues. I'm a girl, so I don't know about football. Sorry to every female that likes football, but I don't. But the people who score the most miss the most as well,
most.
right?
Mhm.
So that's failing. So that's one thing. You can't make an omelette without breaking an egg, right? The failure doesn't exist. You only really fail when you stop or you die.
Yes.
So that's one thing. But the other thing is there's such thing called the 4 blessings of failure, right? So a failure is either a learning.
Yeah.
You try something, a new business or a new venture or whatever you try, right? And you do not get the outcome that you intended.
Yeah.
So you could call it a failure, or you could just realize that it's a learning. Along in trying that, you have learned things. You've learned what works, you've learned what doesn't work, right? So that's one thing. Failure teaches you things, and there's no bad learning, is there? Because then if you want to do the same thing again, you try something different. Or it's a redirection. So maybe I try to make a new business, I don't know, being a cat groomer, and it completely fails. It completely fails because it's the wrong thing for me to be doing. That in itself, yes, it's a failure by definition, but if it's going to redirect me to something that would be better for me to do, then again, it's a redirection, which is a good thing. Would you rather spend 10 years doing the wrong thing, or would you rather fail quickly and then redirect to something that's better?
Yeah.
So that's the second one. All right. The third one is a failure is something that can reflect back to you something that you've not dealt with. So, if you're constantly coming up with the same unwanted outcomes, it's an opportunity to look at yourself and think, what about me is creating this or inviting this, or what lesson is there to learn? And I defy you to go through that process and find the lesson, and then it won't happen again, because it's life bringing you the opportunity to realize where you have where you've got an opportunity to release something and be better or be lighter or be freer or whatever it is. And the fourth blessing of failure is a combination of all three. That's when the shit really hits the fan, and you basically go, look, it was an absolute. All I can do is learn from it. It was a complete redirection. Here's my reflections, and I'm going to take all 4, and then it's a powerful restart. There is no failure.
About to say I entirely agree, and I like what you've said, but I've had a while thinking there is failure, but failure is a positive.
Well, it hurts.
Yeah, bloody hurts at times, but where I am basically, have you heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect? Okay, so I'll let listeners give a minute to Google it, and I've got it somewhere. I'm not going to get that on my camera. So the Dunning-Kruger effect is basically knowledge in a particular field across the x-axis. Is that the one that runs across the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
And your competence and confidence as we go, beg your pardon. So when you first start your new business as a cat groomer, your confidence is up here. You tend to start really well. And then when you learn these lessons, can't use a brush, allergic to cats, whatever the issue is, down and down and down and down we go. That's when we hit the failure rate that we're on about. Lessons learned, climbing. It's two guys did a study on it, Dunning-Kruger, but they did it in people's employment as well. So it goes through the whole aspects of people's lives, from how we learn our job to how we start businesses, and I dare say relationships as well. I don't have a point to this. I just thought that was interesting. Dunning-Kruger effect with what you just mentioned about 4 failures.
No, absolutely.
It's widespread across almost regardless of the reason. It's human nature. And what you're reading between the lines of what you're telling me is self-reflection and then habit forming to alter your own neurological ways of being.
But it depends, doesn't it? Because if you're getting what you want out of life and you're happy and everything's dandy, then carry on. But if you're not happy, then because I genuinely believe, and I've believed for decades, that thought, it's a thing that will switch people off, but thoughts become things. And I now understand the mechanism by which thoughts become things. Because so let's just take a really, really simple example, right? If you have an angry, if you get up on the wrong side of the bed and you're angry and you're just the wrong way out and you go out in your day, you're going to come across more difficulties. Things are going to be sandpaper. You're going to have an argument. You're going to hit red lights, this, that, the other. Your day is going to be more difficult. The absolute opposite is true. And that's just a real basic. Am I angry or am I not angry? And if you go out looking for a fight, you'll probably find one. Whereas if, so there's quite a few different mechanisms going on there. And I don't know what my point was now.
It's contagious, isn't it, my incompetence?
But basically, you create your own reality. You do. In imagination, but also that's eventually reflected back in practical circumstances. I had genuinely have a client who has a really, really strong belief that it is impossible to lose weight. And if that's what you believe, it's impossible for me to lose weight unless I die. Then how hard is it going to be just because your belief? Whereas if the opposite is true, it's like, and that's literally just in your head, isn't it?
Slight tangent on the losing weight thing. I've tripped over something this last couple of days, which genius levels of reshaping markets and things. You're a gym goer, Stu.
I am.
Kind of, vending machine and spa. People
that's
jab themselves, Ozempic, costs a bloody fortune. Doing all these things takes time out of your day. If you get yourself an infection where it hurts where you swallow, you tend not to eat much. And when you don't eat much, you're about to lose weight. It's not going to cost a penny. It's going to save a fortune on your shopping.
Or I've often thought a really good diet product that somebody should develop is a tapeworm in a pill. Take one. Keep it for a few months, and then when you're done, you just have the antibiotics, poo it out, and then everyone's a winner.
Do you know what? There's three
entrepreneurs had a nice life.
3 entrepreneurs here on camera. Let's trademark it and buy the domain. Slimming world with worms. Love it. Genius, Mel.
But actually, something that you said before, which was about pain. There's a difference between pain and suffering.
Yes.
And pain is a physical thing, and pain is something that is, is part of nature and part of life and part of death and all that kind of thing. But suffering is a thing that we can manufacture in our own minds, and we do manufacture in our own minds by the meaning that we give to things. And psychological suffering is something that it's possible to not keep. And we're quite attached to it. I would probably say I've been addicted to misery, but it's not necessary to suffer from your own brain. Pain is pain. Suffering is separate.
That's framing.
Well, it's also meaning. So, for example, you could have, I don't know, you'd have something awful happen to you, and you could lose a leg. That's painful. Everybody pretty much would say that's a bad thing. So the meaning, if you had two identical twins, both it's a bad experiment, isn't it? With 2 identical twins, they both lose a leg. Right? one decides it's the end of the life, right? This is it. It's rubbish. I'm never going to be able to walk again. I can't be free. X, Y, Z. I'm going to be in pain for the rest of my life. And they go in that direction. One decides it's the end of everything, and the other one goes, do you know what? I hated that leg. Or I've decided that I'm going to see the best out of this. I'm going to get a really good prosthetic. I'm going to live the rest of my life just as I did before, and I'm going to be an example to every kid that's born in a disadvantaged way. The same thing has happened to 2 identical human beings in that story, but the meaning that they assigned will create a massively different outcome a year down the line, 10 years down the line. And so the suffering comes along with the meaning that you assign to it or not.
And to be fair, identical twins have completely different personalities.
Yeah. All right. Okay, we get no, stop.
I'm not going to try it.
Sorry,
I won't be.
Sorry,
we won't be trying it.
I'm just gonna jump in a little bit and just
Mel don't know I've got identical twins, does she?
No, I know.
Go on.
Yeah, he's already thinking about chopping one of their legs off now.
Oh, I'm not. I'm
Chopping
really
both
not.
Both of them.
So I'm actually going to backtrack because Ben forgot to do this right at the top
Oh, of course.
of having a chat with you.
Yeah.
So, Mel, you're a midlife coach.
Yes.
We've not actually mentioned the fact that you are now a midlife coach.
Okay.
Tell us what you've told us a lot about your experience and that sort of thing, but tell us what a midlife coach is and a midlife coach does.
Okay. So the which do you want first, the coach or the midlife?
However you want to
Okay.
tell us.
Right, fine. So basically, I used to think, who the hell needs a life coach? Don't be ridiculous. The world doesn't need another fluffy, stupid life coach. Who on earth wants that? And that was really a strong belief for me. And I've ceased to. I don't think like that anymore because if you want to achieve something that you're either trying to get better at yourself or you're trying to do something new, having somebody stood next to you coaching you can accelerate your progress massively. And can get you vastly better outcomes than you can get by yourself. Facts. Like if you want to go to the gym, you get a personal trainer, your results can be massively accelerated for the time and effort that you put in. That's the point of a coach. And then in terms of the midlife part, my 20s and 30s were all about, for me, it was all about thinking about what I wanted, chasing after it, working hard, blah, blah, blah. And they were filled with hope, actually, and, a level of success and this and that and the other. And then when the bottom fell out of my life, one of the things that was hardest was the loss of hope, because you have this, everyone has an internal voice, but the internal voice is, shit, I'm 45 or shit, I'm 55. Is this it? And it's the loss of, I'm too old, it's the end of my career. And I believed that what was in front of me was worse than what was behind me. And that's a horrible place to be. And that was one of the most difficult, intensely emotional things. Because if you've lost belief that your future can be amazing, what the hell is the point? So and loads of us have done it, you've hit a career, you've done something in your 20s, you've done something in your 30s, you've had kids, and then for whatever reason you've got divorced or you've lost your job or you've left your job or you've had some life transition, and you get to the end of that, and then all of your identity, I was a businessman, I was earning this amount of money, I had this, that and the other, and all the things that shore up your ego, if they all go away or some of them go away, what are you left with? And that's who I'm talking to, really. I'm talking to the people that have been successful and have so much about themselves and have just got into a position where everything is shaky, and how confidence and self-belief come from practical knowing, don't they? And if you look around your life and you're 45 or you're 55 and you're renting a room somewhere because you've split up with your family and you've lost your identity as a husband and a this, that, or the other, that's a hard place to be in. And it's about getting you from there to the beginning of your next life powerfully and quickly, and not kind of sitting, reducing the amount of time that the misery and the suffering has to be. That's why midlife, really.
And I think I've been through that personally. I've been through the working for somebody else, working for a multinational company, where had I still been working for them, potentially I'd be on a 6-figure salary easily now. And I made the decision not to, and it crosses my mind at times. Hold on, I left to start my own business. I have less money than if I'd just stayed working for somebody else. And also, I suppose, and Ben and I have this conversation now and again around, material things. And Ben doesn't do foreign holidays or nice cars or so on and so forth. But
I told you I went to Birmingham the other week. I told you that.
But Ben likes to invest his money in different ways. For me, I like to invest my money in life experiences. in travel and that sort of thing, to experience different cultures and different areas. Now, when you have less money in midlife, and your expectation, I suppose, when you were younger was that, brilliant, I'll be able to do all of this stuff, and you then see friends, social media is massive for it now, because you effectively observe people that you probably went to school with doing different things with their lives, potentially going on lots of holidays. And we know social media is, a lot of it is effectively false, because it's what people want you to see rather than necessarily what they're actually living. But that can cause you to feel low, because you think, yeah, exactly as you said, I've not achieved, or I'm not where I ought to be, and it creates that spiraling effect that you've talked about.
Well, I think what you're talking about, because essentially we all there's money and there's time. I mean, they're the two main resources, right? And if you look back on there's a tendency as humans to look at our external environment and go, and you shore enough your ego again. Look at this house that I've got. Look at this salary I've got. Look at this holiday. Blah blah blah. But what we're really all seeking is feeling. We're seeking two things. We're seeking the feeling that it's going to give us. So the big salary and the nice house gives you a feeling, and that is about worth. But really, what you're actually seeking is self-worth.
Yeah.
You can, if you can have, there's so many stories, even billionaires and whatever else, who have all the things but still feel like absolute crap. So, and that's like losing your keys in your house and looking for them, and it's dark in your house and you can't find your keys. So instead of, you can't put the light on because it's not working, so you go outside where the street lamp is. So you're outside now looking for your keys. But your keys are outside, are they? They're in your house because that's where you drop them. And that will be ludicrous, because if you've dropped your keys in your house, why are you going outside to look for them? And that's what we're doing. We're seeking externally what we actually need internally. So you're seeking the feelings, but also having the things that make you happy, make you feel alive. And it's the aliveness. It's like that, if you're doing a job that you love, for example, when you're in the moment of doing that job, you feel alive because you're switched on and you're in flow and you're in your power and all of that stuff. That's the feeling of being alive. That's fantastic. And the more off you are than that, because I think that the reason that a lot of people, and I'm excluding, there's no judgment or shame or anything, but the reason that anybody really is doing scrolling and drinking and like numbing out in whatever way is because what you're trying to do is reduce the pain of the suffering that actually you might not even realize. But really, if you're not happy, what you're trying to do is you're giving yourself painkillers to reduce the unhappiness. But actually what you need is to face it, but also to realize and believe and know. If you knew that in 6 months' time you could be living your purpose and joy and passion, like, not everything's going to be perfect, but each and every day you're going to be doing something towards your purpose and joy and passion.
Yeah.
You wouldn't need to be drinking and numbing out, because you'd be thinking, do you know what, I'm going to bed early because tomorrow I've got to get up and get shit done. And it'd be the shit that you're getting done. And it's really hard, because once you've lost that belief that what you really want, which is whatever it is, it's meaning, it's purpose, it's direction, it's love, it's contribution, it's the things that make you feel alive. If you lose that, if that belief slips away from you that you can have those things, that's where the downward spiral really starts. And lots of people live there, especially in midlife, because the stories that you tell yourself are, well, I've tried this and I've tried that and I've tried my best and this is what I've got now. And that's shit. And if it is shit, that's the point of me, really. That's like, well, that's up to you. I mean, one of my first clients, I remember, he'd had a really rough time. And I think especially if you're divorced or separated, like Christmas and holidays and bank holidays are just awful. And it was post-Christmas, and he'd spent quite a lot of Christmas on drugs. So coming out of Christmas, he felt physically shite because he'd been on drugs all Christmas, and he spent all his money, he was in debt, and blah, blah, blah. And I don't do harsh. I mean, I can be quite harsh, but I wouldn't speak to people like this. But I literally sent him a message saying, it's up to you, mate. Like, if you want to be lying in your bed this time next week or this time next year, that's entirely, carry on, pal. Like, it's up to you. It's nobody else's choice. But the moment you're ready, give me a shout. And I'm not exaggerating. Within 3 months, he tripled his salary. I mean, it wasn't amazing at the beginning, but he tripled the amount of money he was making, and he was connected and back on it, and living a much more aligned, powerful life in 3 months.
Wow. And
And
that's down to the support and the change in mindset.
That's down to practical, moment by moment. There's a few practical tools that it's not woo-woo. It's connected. I mean, it is, it's quantum physics and blah, 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 but it's connected in real nowness. It's backed by like genuine neuroscience. You can rewire your brain. We all know that we can, where you put your attention, where you put your focus, where you put your energy, that's where you're heading, all of that stuff. If you get those things in the right order, and then you have a system to actually rewire your beliefs, then you're cooking. So can I say a couple of things just while I've got them in my brain?
Of course you can. Yeah.
So one thing is, I think this is that belief thing. If you believe you can, I believe you can't, right? So if you've lost belief, you're in a bad place. David Bay would say a belief is, well, lots of people would say a belief is something you continue to think. But David Bay would say you don't know how to change your beliefs, but you do know how to make a decision.
Okay.
We all know how to make a decision. There's if you imagine you're a smoker and then one day you just decide enough is enough, I'm done. And at that point, I've decided I'm not going to smoke anymore. Yeah, you might have days where you fall back onto it and whatever. You might go through a few spirals, but my decision is I'm not going to be a smoker anymore. And then if you live into that and you put the right structures in place, you can make that actually a reality until eventually you're not a smoker anymore. Now, it comes from a decision. You don't have to believe that it's going to be X, Y, Z. You can just make a decision. And then the other thing is, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that triangle thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So lots of, and I believe kind of social psychology and all this kind of thing, but I actually think it's upside down, because I'm a working class kid, and I was taught that money doesn't grow on trees and you need to work hard to earn your money and blah, blah, blah. The things that you were taught as a kid.
Yeah.
And so lots of people started at the bottom. So you start by trying to get your physiological needs. You start by trying to make money. So you get the job you can get, whatever job you can get. And then you try and get a better job. And then you try and get a house. And then you try and pay your bills and whatever else. But you end up spending all of your time and your energy and your focus on the bottom things, which don't actually fulfill you. Whereas if you could start at the top, which is giving yourself permission to go, what do I really want? I don't know. Okay, well, let's find out. And then the other things to filter down. If you could go back to the age of 6 and somebody could say, right, money's no object. What gives you joy, Ben? What do you want to do? What are you good at? Right.
Well,
and
I can answer the first one.
Yeah, but and then you're in private school or whatever you're in, and you basically spent your entire life going, what do I want to do? How do I want to contribute? Who am I? What's great about me? Living from that place. The money would come if we all did what we were great at.
Yeah.
The world would be a brilliant place.
I think that's something around education systems now as well, isn't it? That everybody in education is expected to do these core subjects, regardless of their ability, that are expected to do certain exams and go through a certain education system. And yes, post 16 now it changes slightly, but we're kind of teaching kids now that, that you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do English, you have to do maths. I mean, wow, why do we have to do, mental maths still to an extent? And okay, I understand some basics, but I remember as a kid, and I'm going back a few years now, well, we've got to do it because you're never going to have you're not going to have a calculator with you all the time. Actually, no. What I've got is a mobile phone.
Calculator all the time.
Yeah, but isn't just a calculator all the time. It has the entire world's knowledge in my pocket.
I'm going to add to your point where you talk about how we're educating children at the minute. We are teaching children how to study on a particular topic and how to pass a test with a pass or fail. Life isn't like that. We don't teach to think. We don't teach to empathize. We don't teach sense. We teach, this is how you learn a subject, pass or fail a test.
Agreed. And unless you're going to homeschool your kids, like that's because I mean, I was 12 years a teacher, and for a lot of those years, I believed that I believed in some aspects of the educational system.
Hmm.
I don't know necessarily that it's helpful to sort of explore like what school does or doesn't do, but I think the shame of it is that kids don't come out of school wanting to be the best version of themselves. And that would be, but it's also not schools, like as parents, I'm not a parent. I know plenty of parents that say, well, my kid can't do X, Y, and Z. What are you doing with them in school? And it's like, whoa, like I see them for like 3 hours a week. You've got them with the rest of their life. Like everyone is, life is life, and kids and parents and everyone, everyone that you're around. If we were all looking up, going, actually, what do I want to do? Have more? Because if you go back to the idea that the universe is expanding, which it is, and you go back and there's an old view of money, like my grandparents would be like, oh, you got to make money because other people are trying to take it, and it's finite, and I've got to fight you, and if I have something you can't have it. That's not how the universe really is, though.
Yeah.
It really is expansive. And if you're a business owner and I'm a business owner, and somebody has a need in the world and we can fulfill that, then like we all, you can make money by doing good, and the person can do better and they can go on to do better. It's not a us or them thing, it's an us and them.
Yeah, and I think actually Ben and I do that. Ben and I actually we've got this podcast together. We're friends, but we're also to an extent competitors in business. But we do quite a bit of work together too, because if we work together, we both win. Rather than somebody winning and somebody losing, actually, if we work much more collaboratively, then more people can win.
Yes.
And it's that kind of sharing the love, sharing the support, isn't it?
Well, that's what I learned that really on in business. So I've also got a locksmith business that I'm stepping out of in order to do this full time, to do the coaching full time. But my early experience of the big locksmith companies were, let's get as much money as we can from the customers, and the customer loses. Whereas that isn't how business needs to be. And actually, our locksmith company and the other local companies that we kind of equally, they're in our market share, but we're competitors, but we speak to each other. We believe that it's a win. So the customer should get a really good, fair, decent job done at a decent, fair price, and we should provide that, and we should get fairly paid, and the customer should pay fairly, and that's the end of that. And there is no like win-lose. A win-lose, everybody loses, and a win-win, everybody wins. And there's no reason, if I'm decent to you as a customer and I give you the best value and the best service, you'll come back. So like you've won, I've won, and I'll get my work. Like and that's again a mindset thing, isn't it? If you go into the world thinking you have to rip everyone off to make a living, that's one way to live. Or you go into the world and think, some people have got a problem and I've got a solution, and my solution helps them get their problem, and then they can live their life and go on and grow and contribute. Then we're expanding again.
Absolutely. Something I'm interested in, just bringing back to your midlife coaching, that sort of thing, and you've worked with quite a number of clients, people. You've supported a lot of people. Something Ben and I talk about quite a bit is the difference between men and women when it comes to mental health, when it comes to going through different situations and that sort of thing. Do you see a difference in the sorts of challenges that are faced by men compared to the challenges that are faced by women going through midlife?
I don't know that I can honestly speak to the difference in gender. I thought it would be more marked.
Okay.
To me, it isn't. I think, I can't speak as a man, but I think there's an extra pressure on men to be, the dad, the provider, the masculine, the this, the that. And I don't even know if that's true or not, but that's a sense that I get. But there's, I can't really speak to that, and I can't speak to, because it depends on what mode of life you are living. If you're living a heterosexual, I'm a man and this is my role and this is my wife and that's her role, that's one way of living. But there's lots of heterosexual couples that live much more 50-50.
Yeah.
and do, the one person that they both provide, and they both do the household things and whatever else. So I think it just depends on it's more you as a person. How willing and able are you to challenge your own scripts? Because your beliefs were formed when you were 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, when you don't even remember.
Yeah.
So if you had a harsh dad or a harsh mum that basically made you feel like you weren't good enough, and that's your beliefs are formed on that basis. If you lived in a family where money was a source of arguments, then you're going to believe that money's a source of arguments and stress. If you were brought up in a family that was really loving and providing, then you're probably quite stable. It depends. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
how able have you been to come out of those scripts that you were born into, that you didn't choose? And the point is, they're not even true. There's no objective truth that money is this or that, or love is this
Yeah.
or that. There's no objective truth. You've just decided, you made a decision when you were a child based on the things that were around you. And you don't need to keep that decision. If your life isn't how you want it to be, you have it within your capacity to change that if you know how. And that's really, really exciting.
Yeah, I think it is. And I think it comes back to that rewiring the mindset. I'm guessing that you
rewiring
kind
your
of speak
actual
about.
brain.
Your brain, yes.
Your
So
actual brain.
that you approach from a different mindset the challenges that you may be believing that you're facing.
It isn't, I think, like, yes, you're right, but it's also really not mindset. It's not like, I'm just going to decide that I don't like biscuits. That's a decision, right? It's like if you learned a new sport, so if you decided that you were going to go out and you were going to learn to play tennis, what would happen was your body and your brain would start to put down neurons, nerve cells in your brain that learned the actions that you're practicing, right? So you'd start to literally physically wire a certain part of your brain for the tennis action, right? And if you practiced it over and over again, eventually you'd get competent, and then you get unconsciously incompetent, and then you get good at tennis because you're practicing it. And then if you stopped playing tennis and you started doing knitting instead, and you'd knit for 6 months, your brain would stop putting resources down to the tennis neurons. Because your brain's really good at neuroplasticity. It goes, so if you tell your brain, like when you let's say you buy a red Ferrari, right? All of a sudden you see red Ferraris everywhere because that's what your brain is, this is important to you. So your brain brings you what you've told it you want. So your brain is literally plastic in a biological way. So it's neurology and it's biology, and we have the power to redirect it.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Do you notice, or because you seem to do a lot of work, or you do a lot of work with people that are older, and obviously there is science that backs up that plasticity of the brain reduces as we get older, and it's that kind of old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Do you think it's harder for somebody as they get older to rewire, and that's why people maybe reach out for support a little bit more, because they don't understand, or they don't have that plasticity as much as they maybe did when they were in their 20s or 30s?
I think that's a complete myth. I really do. There's
Really?
a couple of books
Okay.
there's a book called The Myth of Aging, and there's something else called Somatics, which is about, old people getting up, walking upstairs, and they've got a bad back and all this.
Yeah,
and I think in our Western culture, we've got this idea that as you age, you will get aches and pains, and as you age, this, that, the other. And we've got these cultural beliefs. You go to bloody Japan or somewhere like that, or a place where they're eating, I don't know what they're eating, celery and doing Tai Chi or something. Like, but we've got a whole load of beliefs as a culture that it's somebody else's job to fix you. There's something wrong with you, go to the doctors. And it's like, or you something wrong with your back, you go to the chiropractor. But actually, it's your brain and your body. So, like, just as you're the only person that puts food in your mouth, like, it's like there's so much power that we are as a culture giving away, and there's a comfort in that, isn't there? I can't do it because my teacher or my dad or my mum or someone else. And it's like, if you take radical responsibility for yourself, again, it's a decision. It's like you can be 60. Honestly, you could be on your deathbed, and you could make a decision about how much suffering there's going to be. Like if you fight and do you know what I mean? You're clinging to the past and you're resisting what is, and you're like, you're fighting the everything that you, basically, if you're resisting everything that is, then all of your energy and focus is on that on that tension and resisting. Whereas if it were possible to accept and go with the flow, that in itself would have less suffering. And anyone that knows me is just going to be like, well, listen to yourself, love, because I'm like 100% need to learn that. Like, what was your question? I might need to edit that bit. That was a rubbish
No,
answer.
I think you've answered it, because it was around that plasticity and whether, this belief that plasticity diminishes with age, neurological plasticity. But I do absolutely agree when you talk about this, Western culture compared to other cultures. You think about Tibetan monks, Shaolin monks, and so on and so forth. The life that they live, but they do live generally to an older age than Westerners that are shoveling burgers into their mouth and fats and sugars and refined foods and heavily processed foods and this, that, and the other, because they just see it that that's the option, rather than actually it doesn't have to be the option.
But it comes back to, it's a belief thing again, isn't it? Because the brain is a goal achieving machine. So if you imagine that your brain is like Google, right? So you ask a crap question, like something like, how am I going to, if you get up in the morning and you say to yourself, how am I going to get through the day? Or how am I going to manage even half of it? How am I going to pay my bills? Like, you're putting yourself straight away and you're looking down, right? If you say to yourself, you get up in the morning and you say, what's the easiest way that I could be effective today? Or which of my 19 things that are on my to-do list will give me 80% of the results? Like, just the power of a decent question will liberate you, or a power of a shit question will drag you down. So if your brain will give you what you ask it for. So if you believe I'm getting old and I can't do this and I can't do that, of course, like some things will be harder. Like, people's bodies change, don't they? Of course they do as we age. But there's absolutely no there's no rules. Like I had two sets of grandparents, right? One lot got to 65 and decided, I'm 65, I've got a free bus pass, let's go. And they just got on a bus and went to see everywhere. The other set of grandparents said, I'm 65, I'm old, got an old granny hat and a little shopping trolley and lived into an old life because she was 65 now. And it's like the only difference there really was decision. What does that mean? It's the meaning that we give to it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people also go along with that and say that, I'm old, I've worked all these years because I'm going to do it when I retire. And then they get to retirement and go, no, I'm too old, I can't do it anymore. Rather than, actually, fuck it, I can do it. I said I was going to do it all these years, so I'm going to fucking do it.
Or more powerfully, ask yourself that question when you're 45. How can I do it in the next year?
Yeah.
So Tim Ferriss, I hated his book title. I was a teacher when I read that, and it was like the 4-hour working week, and I just thought, fuck off. Really annoyed me. Now I knew that was a really big workload. I can't possibly do a 4-hour working week. It really annoyed me. But he would say something like, if you had, well, please excuse the question, but do either of you have like a 5-year goal or a 3-year goal or something?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's yours?
My goal is to get to a point where I can exit my business. Now, that's not exit it as in leave my business fully, but not need to be in my business so that I can live my life how I want to. I can, if I want to go on holiday, I can book a holiday. If I want to have some more time with my daughter, I can have some more time with my daughter so that I don't need to be in work.
Okay. So have you defined what that freedom looks like in terms of hours and money?
To an extent, yes,
Okay.
but
If you had
only to an extent.
Yeah. So if you had that defined and written down, like I only need to work an average of 6 months of a year or whatever, and I need this much money. So if you had that defined and written down and you reviewed that twice daily and you asked your brain, what's the easiest way I could achieve this? And then someone held a gun to your head and said, you're not having 5 years, you've got 5 months. How
Yeah.
close to that goal could you actually get in 5 months with the right tools?
Yeah.
So why does it need to take 5 years?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not a 5-year plan. It is a sooner plan, but it isn't a 5-month plan.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like
Yeah.
it's that sort of thing, isn't it? That's the power of just the power of
Yeah,
question,
yeah.
the power of clarity. What exactly do you want? If you were going to throw everything at it and just decide, what would that look like? Because how we tend to live, the default way of living is you've got these limiting beliefs on the bottom, and you know it's a limiting belief because it's against what you want. So on the one hand, I want to be fit, but on the other hand, I'm not fit because I'd like cake and beer or whatever it is, right? So you've got a belief that's sitting underneath that's kind of like crumbling everything you try and do. And then you put on that the problems that you've got, and you put on that the lack of clarity, and then you ask yourself shit questions, and then you feel quite fearful because you're working from a state that's unempowered, and then you take action on top of that pile of crap. And you don't get anywhere, and you wonder why you don't get anywhere. But you could have a completely different base. Instead of instead of a limiting belief, you can have a powerful decision. This is what I want, and you could work the system, and then you put on top of that the right energy, the right clarity, the right questions, and then you've got confidence. And then if you act from that place, where would you be? And then you add to that the moment by moment connecting to energy, how many hours you're going to waste every day feeling like crap, or you're going to find a way to stop that and, switch back into a powerful state. Like you can live powerfully, easily. You could literally you could explode in productivity.
Yeah, that's got me thinking.
Yeah.
That is a great way to look at it and to approach it. And it's interesting. It got me thinking of another question actually, around the fact that my assumption is that a lot of people, when they first start working with you, come up with excuses not to do things. And although they want to change things, you'll talk to them about how they can change things and mindset, and you'll put things in, you start them on their journey to put things into place. How much of that do you get excuses from them initially as to why they can't do it? And I guess is that then frustrating for you to an extent, or are you just now used to it that their brain is wired at that point in time to think more of reasons why they can't change rather than actually being productive and changing?
It's not because that sort of comes from a place of it. You have to try. And honestly, this is probably my Achilles tendon. I'm a real trier. Like I'll try my hardest. I'll work 15-hour days. I really will graft it out. And one of the things that I'm trying to let go of is trying, because honestly, if you make a powerful decision, right? So let's take the smoking thing, for example, right? So I've been a smoker for however long, and I've been trying to stop smoking, blah, blah, blah. And then one day I just decide that come what may, I am going to stop smoking. That is my new decision, right? Then it's not really about trying, because things are going to come, the cravings are going to come up. You're going to have bad days. Your cat's going to be sick on your floor, whatever, your kid's going to, whatever, keep you up all night. Like life's going to do life. And this is about a system of being really clear and firm about my new decision is, and then moment by moment, when the old belief comes, I need a cigarette, right? That's going to come up because that's what your brain does. It brings you the things that you've told it to bring you, right? So the old belief's going to come up, and the old desire, and your body is like, some people say that your body is the subconscious mind. It's 95% of who we are is a subconscious mind. So your routines and your habits, like, have you heard of Joe Dispenza? He would say, it took me like years and years and years to not get anywhere with his stuff, but I think his stuff's amazing. It's really interesting. I just couldn't implement it. But he would say that people live the same life over and over again because you wake up and the first thing that you do is think all the thoughts that you thought yesterday. So you're just on the same loop and nothing changes. This
Groundhog
system
Day.
is this system is less about trying to like action your way out of it, and more about going with what comes up. So it's like something happens, I need a cigarette, and your job in that moment is to notice the thought, I need a cigarette, and then to notice the feeling that comes with that, which is anxiety and craving, whatever else. And then you do the things that we've decided that you're going to do in that moment, which is things like, for a craving, if you watch a craving for 60 seconds, an old watch, you could watch the second hands go round, the craving will drop from really, really high to kind of 40-50% of what it was a minute ago. And it gives you the option to, if you can just tell yourself, I'm going to wait that 60 seconds, in 60 seconds time, and then there's lots of breathing things that you can do, which will literally put your body in a different state. And then your whole body comes down and you're back in control again. And then it's decision time again. Am I going to smoke? Am I going to stay with this decision? Yes, I am. All right, fine. Am I going to have some nicotine gum? Go for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
It's less about kind of gritting your teeth and sort of trying to, because there's a loop, which is what you believe gives you so what you think and what you feel is always in line with what you believe. So if you believe that you're a failure or you're not good enough, which loads of people do on some level, loads of people have a I'm not good enough thing going on, right? If you believe that you're not good enough, then your thoughts and your feelings are going to go in alignment with that. So let's say, for example, that you want to achieve something in your business, like send out loads more marketing emails or something like that, right? So what you try and do is you say, I want to grow my business, so I'm going to send out some marketing emails. But when you're trying to do the marketing emails, you're thinking my emails aren't going to be very good. And you're feeling like I'm not good enough. So you're thinking and you're feeling against what you're trying to do. And then your action will either be rubbish or it will be inaction. So you'll not do the emails because of what you're thinking and feeling. So instead of trying to go for the action to give you the result, which is what everybody tries to do, I need to get more marketing, so I'm going to do this. You work on the action bit. You can cut all that out and you can go, what's my belief? My belief is that I'm not going to do it right. I'm not good enough. And if you start there, then everything else can actually flow in like in line with what you actually want.
You have literally just described my last Thursday.
It is painful, isn't it? I do it all the
Marketing
time.
emails to a
Yeah.
T. I'm like,
Yeah.
the fuck am I doing it? Literally, yeah.
But imagine, right? Just imagine for a second if you could get your thoughts and your emotions and your energy and your actions going in the same direction, and you could keep them going in the same direction for like a month. Yeah, you'd have a little wobble now and again, and it's not all about work, but do you know what I mean? If you could keep thoughts, emotions, energy in alignment together and keep them going in the direction you actually want them to go, how much more likely would you be to get there?
It would be quite productive.
Yeah, rather than what we always do, which is we're fighting against ourselves all the time because we don't know how not to. And this is a system. That's a really exciting thing. It's a system to help you learn for yourself how to identify what you want, identify what's in your way, get out of your own way, and get your ducks in a row, and then off you toddle. Have Friday afternoons off. Go fishing or something, because you can.
And that's Friday afternoons off anyway.
I'm just going to stop
I
coming to
tend
work.
to.
Ben also has every other morning off, so
Picking
or
on
so
me
his
again,
staff
Mel.
think. Yeah,
Sorry.
My staff think I work 2 hours a day. You're right.
yeah. So do most of his customers. So we're coming to the end of our chat, I suppose. One question that we ask every guest, and I suppose more yourself because of your experience and the around supporting people. If you could give one piece of advice to someone facing that kind of build-up of challenges in their life for them to change it, what would it be? What should their first step be?
Reach out to not necessarily me. Reach somewhere, because the main problem is when you're in a hole, you do not believe that it's ever going to be any better. That's the problem. And the worse you feel, the more true that feels. And what you need is for the clouds to clear, because they can clear, but you just don't believe it's ever going to clear. So my advice would be to reach out to somebody that can hold that belief for you for now. Because you can't do it. If you can do it by yourself, great. But if you're stuck in a hole, it's so hard to be open to the possibility that it will ever be different. And
That's really
sometimes you
good
need someone
advice,
else to do
yeah.
it for you. You just need someone else to do it for you for a bit until you can.
Someone else, sorry, clarify now. Someone else to
Hold the
believe
belief.
in you when you can't believe in yourself.
It's not believe in you, but hold the belief that it will clear, that that this darkness will pass, that life can be better than it is right now.
Yeah.
Because and we're talking about really dark stuff now, but there's grades of everything. The worse you feel, the less you can believe that it's ever going to change. And we've all had bad days, and we all
Yeah.
know that eventually it does change, and you do have better days. But when you're in the hole, you can't believe that.
Because I've mentioned on this show a couple of times, with the exception of relatives passing away, the lowest moment in my life was crying on my kitchen floor, thinking I was going to lose my house. And my 2-year-old she was then, one of my girls walked in. And that was kind of the moment for me when I didn't snap out of it. But that point, I think, potentially, my girls carried me through. I'm a believer. I'm a Christian, go to church every now and then. And between the family, God, but in particular my girls, there was just an element of, Dale Carnegie. So I'm a big fan of some of the things he's come out with, and he wrote something, I'm not going to get it quite right, but it's along the lines of come to peace with the worst case scenario, be at peace with it, and then you can build from there. And that was kind of how it was for me. Worst case is bank's going to take my house off me. If it all goes worst case scenario, Mum, can we move in? Just sort the kids out. I don't know what. We'll figure something out. Bam, 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 bam. Right. Step one, how do we get out this mess? The first step. And from there, we climbed out the hole.
And what happened
What was my
there
point
was,
here? Yes.
what happened there was you stopped resisting. So the
Yes.
temptation is you're in this situation. So Eckhart Tolle would say you have your life and your life situation.
Yes.
And people say they're unhappy with their life, but what they really mean is they're unhappy with their life situation. So
Yes.
they're in rented accommodation, or they're unhappy with their job, or whatever it is. But your life is something different. And what happened in that moment for you is you stopped resisting what is.
If it wasn't for my kids, I would have been in that place longer.
Yeah. And
100%.
absolutely. And the thing is what you know when you're not in that position is that that's not going to remain permanent. And other people can know that. And in that moment, you perhaps can't. But resisting what is, if you put all of your energy fighting on what you don't want, you're draining yourself so much. Whereas if it's possible to stop resisting, which is what you did in that moment, it then frees up your energy, time, everything to go, right, okay, Jesus, this is shit, but what's next? Like, what's the tiny step out of this?
Yeah. And obviously step one,
Get up off the floor.
Get up off the floor. Step two, make the first phone call to try and save your house. Step three, there's a business here. There's a lot going through it. It's going to the skids, but how can we resurrect it at a time when my confidence was zero? This happened, Mel. I got the call that no more payment plan. That's that. On the Wednesday, my son was born on the Saturday. And that's the moment when I've got to go again. And So I found someone to partner with for a little bit. 6 months down the line, he got paid off, and we've not really looked back. But at that moment of my lowest, it was my little girls who pulled me through. My little lad being born the week it all sort of kicked off, and this is as low as it's going to get for me. I just made that decision. Bam! This is as low as it's going to get. And we've had peaks and troughs. We've been through a couple of issues, but nothing in comparison to that. And that's interesting you saying that. That was my resisting moment. That was when I stopped resisting the accept failure. It's fine. Lots of people failed. Branson failed with Virgin Cola. You know what I mean? There's nothing final. Failure. Is this Churchill? Failure isn't final.
Yeah, until you stop trying. I mean, telling people to stop resisting is just like, someone wants to punch you in the face. I'd want to punch me in the face. Oh, stop resisting what is. It's like, there's a lot of I used to have therapy a long time ago, and this is like about 5,000 million times more empowering than therapy. But my therapist used to say, acceptance. And then I'd literally genuinely had a mug printed that said fucking acceptance.
Yeah.
And it is
Yeah.
nothing, but there is some power in that, because because it releases the struggle and the suffering, and gives you back what you have, which is now and energy and time and decision and focus and choice and blah blah blah. Yeah. So
It's
are you
been
moving
fascinating,
powerfully, or are you
Mm.
suffering? That's the thing, isn't it? And that's all we can do, moment by moment. Which way are you facing, up or down, or back to the
Up
start
or
again?
down. Yeah.
So, can I just say one more thing?
You can say
Yeah,
as
yeah.
much as you like. This is your show.
Fine. Unequivocally hear this, that it is not necessary to remain in a suffering state. So if you are feeling that your life is not where you want it to be, it is not necessary to stay in that situation. The situation might be the same, but it's not necessary to accept the suffering and suffer. There's loads you can do to get from where you are to somewhere much, much better. And there's no point in saying, oh, you can be a millionaire and, this, that, and the other, because it's too far away. But what you can do is go slightly better, and then slightly better, and then slightly better. And trust me, within a week, you're in a whole different place.
And it's like compound interest.
Yeah.
Keep building.
Yeah. And sometimes it's a step back, but once you're on that, and once you have the tools and the strategies and you know how to do it, you literally can change your life. Literally, money, relationships, everything, time, work, whatever it is, you can change it.
And I think that is an absolute great point for us to kind of close on. Mel, where can people reach out to you? Where can people find out more, get more information from you, potentially? Because you coach anyone, anywhere, effectively, I'm assuming, do you?
Yeah, it's online. As long as the only, honestly, I wouldn't coach anyone in the sense that it has to be, everything has to work, right? So if somebody reaches out to me, so my email is mel@nomorewasteddays.co.uk. So mel@nomorewasteddays. And if someone emails me, I will literally have a chat, and I'll give them a free session. We'll have a chat and we'll see. And then I really think that it's super important that people can try something and see if it's decent and it's working. And if it is, great. And if it's not, stop. So there's no, there's no risk to it. Because I think a lot of people are a bit worried about reaching out, and it's like, oh, there's so many barriers, isn't there? But actually, if you know that we can just literally have a conversation and see if it works, then, and there's no lose, what you've lost is half an hour.
Yeah. So you make it as easy as possible, taking that first step.
Or genuinely, going back to that, let's all empower each other. If you get into a better situation in 3 months' time in your life, then you're on a springboard, you're contributing to the world, you're making more money, you're doing your thing, everybody gets better. And it's an expansive universe again back there. And that is honestly how I want to spend the rest of my life.
Yeah, it's certainly passionate.
Yeah, that passion really comes through, and absolutely, we appreciate you coming on to chat about that, because we've said in the past that we made a thing very early on that, all of our guests will be parents and business owners. Now, you're a business owner, you're not a parent, but you're a specialist that can support, and whether it's you supporting directly, whether it's you signposting, whether it's people just feeling empowered by this episode. I think, I appreciate that wholly.
Well, the reason we do this is we all have to provide, and then it's a good thing we provide mental health support to staff. We don't. Business owner doesn't get much, does it?
No.
So that's why we do what we do. So.
Yeah, and you need feeding, don't you? You need some, why do you need somebody else sat next to you sometimes? Because you just do.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You do.
Thank you
Mel,
so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure, and we will hopefully catch up with you again at some point in the future, see how things are going for you, and maybe revisit some of the topics in more detail as well, because I think there's so much that people can learn from you, and the way that you empower people to look at their life, to look at how they can better themselves and create a happier, more positive life for themselves.
Yeah, totally. Don't stay stuck. You just don't need to.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, what to take from that, listeners? I was impressed with the depth of knowledge there. I had a good 10, 15 minutes where I didn't say a lot because I'm trying to process. I'm not a scientific person. I'm not a clever person. So just getting my head around fucking plastic neurons, what Sean about, but I'm piecing it together. I get the gist. 95% of our decisions are from the subconscious mind. It makes so much sense. But until someone with some expertise points it out, your brain is a goal-making machine. Well, yeah, when you play back today, I get up, I think what I've got to do, creates the goal. Some of it's written down, some of it's planned already, some of it's, how am I going to do it? Well, I'm going to make that decision that Mel mentions on how I'm going to do it, and automatically there's a task over the goal at the end on how I'm going to do it.
Yeah. I think the thing for me was it's about making that decision, and that decision can sometimes be really, really difficult to make, or feel difficult to make. But that having somebody to hold your belief for you.
Yeah, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, I've not heard about that. Not believing in you, but actually hold your own belief in yourself to do things. And I think that's a really interesting way to look at it. And
because I'm thinking back, did that happen for me with my wife and kids and maybe parents? Is that when I didn't have any faith in myself, it was my dad who said, no, you've got a lot going, you should keep going. Didn't want to. But when I sat down afterwards and put pen to paper, here's my options, it's been like, well, fucking hell, there's one obvious answer. That was interesting. I enjoyed that one. Not that I've enjoyed every guest episode. Just talking to you that winds me up. But I've genuinely enjoyed every guest episode. But that was interesting on another level.
That was a very different interview for me.
Yeah,
very interesting and very insightful.
Insightful. There we are.
Before we wrap up, then.
Oh yeah.
I think we've got a something in particular to do. I want your dad joke.
Okay. Well, given what we've just heard from Mel there, it's quite a lot of people tend to blame others, find excuses, find reasons, blame others for the road that you are actually on and the road you're on. And you shouldn't do that. It's your own asphalt.
Oh dear!
It was either that or a joke about a dolphin, but that one had porpoise.
I thought you were gonna come out with something around your dolphin joke, but you thought it might be just a little bit clicky.
Yeah. We've not had any listeners writing with a joke for a couple of episodes now. Come on, up your game. Writing with a dad joke, listeners. Otherwise, there'll be more of this drivel next week.
There's going to be more of this drivel next week, whether they write it or not. We'll still keep doing this drivel. I think
See you next week.
No, it's about time to wrap up. So if you've enjoyed this episode, not this bit or the bit at the start of the episode.
No, so come on, some people like the dad joke. Even if it's just me.
Sorry, we need to have more belief in ourselves.
Actually,
don't we?
on my wedding speech, my mother came round and said nobody appreciates Ben's jokes as much as himself.
And that's absolutely true of this podcast.
It is true.
As well.
We're entertaining somebody. It just happens to be me.
So
go on, piss off.
If you enjoy Ben's Ben's jokes,
Let's face
or
it,
you
who doesn't?
actually more enjoy listening to some of the guests that we have on, some of their experiences, then please do make sure you subscribe, follow the show, and give us a review. Give us a 5-star review, even if you just say, yeah, everything's great other than Ben's jokes are shit.
The other way around, the whole episode is absolute crap, but Ben's joke's amazing.
You can also get in touch with your parenting business stories. Likewise, if you want to chat about them on the show, or just want to share them with us in private so that we can anonymize them a little bit and share them to hopefully support others, you can either leave us a comment or drop us an email to podcast@parentingbusiness.com. And I think on that note, it's time to say we will see you
Have a great
next
day.
Thursday.